Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Marquette Golden Eagles Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14. We finished off the regular season with a win against a ranked Clemson team last week, and now we'll do a little preview for the bowl game, and we'll kind of go through the conference championship weeks and take a last look at the recruiting board. And we see here when we click on team news at the top there, John Coleman has committed to Wisconsin, the top target in this recruiting cycle, and again we miss out against the in-state rival Wisconsin Badgers, even though we did beat them earlier in the year in War for Wisconsin 2. Again, we missed last year. It was Tyson Williams. This year, John Coleman, who's an 82 overall athlete at receiver, who we're really hoping would translate to tight end. But looking at the board now, Adrian Holmes, we got locked out on him just before we had our visit with him. We since jumped over Miami of Ohio, and they're just barely hanging on. They're 49 points away from getting locked out. So it looks like Holmes might go into the offseason. He is our top target on the offensive line this cycle. 97 acceleration, 77 run block with C pass block and C impact, with 84 strength and C speed. So a very good athlete on the offensive line, and his blocking traits, already adequate to start as a true freshman. Jake Allen, it looked like we were far and away the favorites for him, but Kansas State has really emerged as the favorite, towards the end of the season. They have since jumped us coming into week 15 here, a two-team race, and Allen more than likely going to go into the offseason along with Holmes and probably Terry O'Donnell here. We've trailed Northern Illinois pretty much all year, the number 3 free safety in the nation. We drop by a handful of points each week. So O'Donnell, Allen, and Holmes probably going to be our top 3 options going into the offseason. Daryl Harvey was a midseason addition at DN. We missed out on our top guy to Northern Illinois. I think that was Al Bush. And Daryl Harvey, halfway scouted, 78 strength with 75 block shed. Pretty good, but the finesse move very low. Hopefully his power move will make up for that. 78 tackle with C play rec and hit power, and 71 pursuit. So it looks to be a solid D end out of Wixom, Michigan, really only battling with Purdue, who we defeated earlier this year. Robert Nash, hopefully he commits after this week. Go to his lock percentage. 93% locked. We just had our visit with him a couple weeks back, and he was a late season addition. We kind of added him because we figured we would miss out on Terry O'Donnell here, so Nash was kind of some insurance. 84 speed, 88 acceleration. So an adequate athlete will probably put him at strong safety with that 84 hit power, 70 pursuit, and decent zone at 72 with B press. We missed out on our top quarterback option, LaRue Hart, who's going to be a stud there. He went to Minnesota State in-state with the Golden Gophers. And then we missed out on our backup plan, Marco Lynch, who actually ended up committing to Cincinnati. They really emerged. It looked like it was going to be us or Michigan State, but Cincinnati came away with Marco Lynch. But Herb Coe, probably a better prospect than Lynch was. 87 throw accuracy with B throw power. A strict pocket passer here. I think we bring him in this week for a week 15 visit. What's his lock at? And he's 65% locked, so I doubt he commits before the offseason, but we'll see. We were only planning on bringing in one quarterback, but Derek Cooper, another midseason addition, and he's pretty solid at 69 overall, a decent athlete at 79 speed, 77 acceleration with B throw power, pretty strong arm for a true freshman, or for a high school recruit, I guess we'll say, with C accuracy, and the ball carrier traits, not too bad with 72 break tackle, 73 elusiveness. So we actually did end up offering him a scholarship. If Coe goes into the offseason, we have more priority than Coe, so we're going to have to pour points into guys like Holmes, Allen, O'Donnell. And then Cooper, he favors us pretty good over the schools behind us. So if that were to be the case, we could probably maybe in the offseason just not even throw any resources into Cooper, and a good chance he still commits here. So hopefully Coe is the guy, but we'll definitely settle for Cooper, or maybe even both, even though we're only planning on bringing in one quarterback this class. Kenny Weeks, he's been on our board all year, since the preseason, but just a backup plan. Then we started pouring points into him when we missed out on some other options. And we currently trail Temple. Nothing over the top, but a decent prospect out of Winnipeg. Walter Joseph, a midseason addition at linebacker, just more insurance. I'll go down here. John Coleman, ends up committing to Wisconsin. They waited to schedule him for week 14, and right after that, he commits to go play in Madison. So we're going to have to play against John Coleman and Tyson Williams in that receiving corps for the Badgers. And we actually haven't gotten a commit since like week 6 or week 7. A very slim recruiting class this year. I mean, I wish some of these guys at the top ended up committing in season, but just not the case. So we're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make come off-season recruiting, and it's probably going to be the hardest and most difficult that we've faced yet. So we'll just review our 7-man class to this point, starting with Thomas Andrews, 37th ranked middle linebacker out of Red Oak, Iowa. Like the size at 6'1", 248. Love the athleticism at 88 speed, 83 acceleration, and the 80 strength. 73 tackle, and really everything like mid-60s. So a very good all-around player, and someone that maybe could even take some snaps at D-end. Stephen Curry, 6'6", 229, receiving tight end out of Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Like the size there. 80 speed with 91 acceleration. Very good at tight end with very good catching traits, although he will be a liability as a blocker. Brian Beck, the 31st ranked corner out of Noblesville, Indiana, 5'11", 188. 90 speed with 87 acceleration, 85 agility. Like the athleticism. And decent across the board there in coverage. 73 man end zone with 75 press and 80 pursuit. Probably going to be a red shirt. I mean, most of these guys probably going to be red shirts. Although Josh Madsen, the 67th ranked player in the nation, the top running back in Wisconsin, number 11th in the nation, a 4-star, and he's someone that we really can't redshirt just because he's such a high-profile recruit that I find it kind of unrealistic for him to commit, and then we just redshirt him, although we will have a very deep backfield next year. 89 speed, 86 acceleration with 80 agility, has good elusiveness and juke move, and 83 spin. For those who have followed, you know I love to use the spin move, so Madsen probably going to be a future stud and maybe the all-time leading rusher when it's all said and done. I look forward to our 1-2 punch. It'll be Jared Luke and Josh Madsen after year 7, looking ahead a couple years. Tim Smith, the top receiver in Wisconsin out of Manitowoc, the 40th in the nation, 68 overall, like the speed at 93, although the agility at 73, very bad at his hands. Only 62 catching, a 63 release, but he does have good route running. So a little raw, but a good athletic profile to build off of. Greg Morris, one of 2 hopeful linemen that we get in this class out of Saginaw North, Michigan, the 40th offensive tackle in the class. More of a pass blocker at 76 with 76 impact. Run block down there at 69, but you like the 82 strength. A good starting point. And then we'll come to Brent Stokes out of West Des Moines, Iowa. One of 2 Iowa players we need to bring in this recruiting cycle to stabilize that pipeline, and we did get the job done. Good speed at 91, acceleration, agility in the low 80s, and he probably could play receiver, maybe running back, but I think we'll put him at safety, a free safety, more than likely, or maybe even corner. We'll see how it shapes up when we get to position changes in the offseason. But 82 zone, 78 man, 74 play rec, 69 press, 74 hit power. So I kind of like him as a defensive player, but someone who could probably pitch in as a return man with 84 spin, 85 juke, and 75 elusiveness. So Brent Stokes, 68 overall athlete. Really like what he brings to the table. So that's really a recruiting update. I mean, I haven't really mentioned it in recent episodes just because nothing has really happened. I mean, obviously here we missed out on John Coleman, which is some big news. Really was hoping he would go into the offseason, but that kind of gives us more clarity how we can distribute it elsewhere. So looking at the top classes, we're probably in line to have maybe our worst ranked class since back in year 1, where I think we actually did have the 73rd class, which is where we shape up right now. Or maybe that was year 2. I think year 1 we were at 101. Going back to year 2, I think 73. So only 7 signings. Hopefully we can get a few more going in or during the offseason. And now we'll look at the top 25 in Georgia Tech at 11-1. Currently number 1. They're set to play in the ACC Championship, I would assume. Their only loss to UNC, who's currently number 12 in the nation. Go and look at those two of these last 2 games. Miami, they beat in overtime, and then they beat Pitt in overtime. Back-to-back overtime games, and they survive, and they come off a big win against in-state rival Georgia. Kevin Lumpkin, their running back, has been the Heisman favorite going back to the preseason, and he's been number 1 ever since. Navy faces Army this week. Go Army, beat Navy, as the Black Knights try to play spoiler there. The reigning national champs, actually. Ohio State at number 3 after they whooped Michigan 48-10. Penn State at number 4. And I wonder what the Big Ten championship game is going to be. Wisconsin at number 5. So 3 of the top 5 out of the Big Ten. LSU, Oklahoma, USC, Hawaii at 10-1. And they even are receiving a first place vote. And then Marquette at number 10, the highest we've ever been. The first time we've cracked the top 10 after a win against a ranked Clemson team. Alabama at 11, North Carolina, Stanford, coached by Herbert Wright, our former D coordinator. They're up to number 6 at 10-1. They won 10 games in a row before falling to South Carolina. Boise State at 14, Michigan State at 15. Miami drops all the way down to 16 from number 4. BYU drops after a loss to Southern Miss. TCU at 7-4 at 18. Oklahoma State, Texas rounding out the top 20. UCLA, Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida State. A huge loss there against the Gators, 35-6. And then Baylor rounding it out at 7-4. As I said, Kevin Lumpkin still leading the Heisman race, coming off a game where he had 292 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, 31 rushing touchdowns on the year, 23-35 on the ground. This dude is an absolute stud. Going to finish with over 5,500 rushing yards, and certainly going to win the Heisman, you would think, especially if Georgia Tech finishes with the ACC Conference Championship. Mike Jackson at number 2, 99 overall quarterback, followed by Robert Brown, Sean Prince, and Mika Bozeman from Cal. Now here at Championship Contenders, number 10 right now, and we're the highest ranked team with a B+. I'm not sure. I don't think we've cracked an A- quite yet, but you would think a win in a bowl game might get us there. 47 next year projected, 50, and then a boost going to 2021 at 36. Now we're here at bowl projections, and the past few weeks we've been projected to return to the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl for the 3rd year in a row, but I'm really hoping after a win against Clemson kind of boost our stock a little bit. So we'll just scroll down here, kind of call out some notable ones. UCLA against Baylor in the Holiday Bowl. South Carolina, Miami, that's a pretty good one there in the Russell Athletic Bowl. We fell to Miami earlier in the year, and like we said earlier, they were a top 5 team before falling this past week. Michigan against West Virginia in the Meineke Car Care Bowl. We made that one back in year 3. So the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl is projected to be BYU and Colorado. So it looks like we played our way up to a better bid. Texas at 6-4, so they play this week, but they're going to finish with only 11 games played on the year. Not sure why it worked out that way. Mississippi State against Clemson in the Music City Bowl, who we just beat. Auburn, Florida State, 2 ranked teams there in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Still nothing yet. We're still alive. Alabama and Wisconsin in the Capital One Bowl. 11th ranked Crimson Tide against a top 5 Badgers team. Georgia against Michigan State in the Outback Bowl. The Rose Bowl. We're getting to the good ones here. Penn State number 4 against Stanford. Herbert Wright leading the Cardinal to a 9-0 record in the Pac-12 and a Rose Bowl bid potentially. And here we are at the Fiesta Bowl. We're projected a rematch against Oklahoma, who we fell to earlier in the season there in Norman. So I like to see that. I was thinking maybe Orange Bowl, but I'll certainly take the Fiesta Bowl, and that would be a rematch against the Sooners. The Sugar Bowl, LSU slated against a 10-1 Hawaii team. Navy against USC here in the Orange Bowl. So a number 2 Navy team not even projected for the Natty. I'm going to assume they give it to Ohio State as they do. So that's rare to see a number 3 team projected over a number 2 team. So the BCS, I do like that. I'd rather have Ohio State than Navy. So hopefully Army can beat Navy and secure that. But the Yellow Jackets slated for a national championship appearance, assuming they can win out. So we will just sim ahead here into conference championship week. So with that, we actually did get 2 commitments, Robert Nash and Kenny Weeks. So we solidify our backup plans there at safety and linebacker, although we're still going to make a run at Jake Allen and Terry O'Donnell here in the offseason as they remain unsigned along with Adrian Holmes, as we kind of expected that would turn out. So after simming week 15, we're still ranked 10th in the nation. We'll check out the polls here to see if there's any shakeup. And Navy did end up losing to Army 31-28. A very good game there. Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State 65-21 there in Bedlam. Okay, so now we're seeing some conference championship games. Georgia Tech against Florida State. Ohio State against Wisconsin in a top 5 matchup there in the Big Ten Championship. So the winner there pretty much playing for a spot in the Natty. You have Penn State sandwiched in between them at 3, but you would think whoever wins that game between Ohio State and Wisconsin is heading to the national championship. LSU is going to play Georgia in the SEC Championship, number 5 against an unranked Bulldogs team. Then we'll have USC against Stanford in the Pac-12 Championship. Hawaii against Boise State there, number 8 against number 14 there in the Mountain West. Army gets into the polls, and Louisiana Tech makes an appearance as well. Now we're back here at bowl projections, and I just want to make sure we stood pat here. And now we're actually slated for the Sugar Bowl, so we went from the Fiesta Bowl, Navy got bumped down, and now we're into the Sugar Bowl against a very good LSU team who I even was planning on scheduling next year. And we already kind of did preview the conference championship games, but we'll just kind of go through it here on the schedule. Schedule scene, kind of more of a better look. So Florida Atlantic at Rice for the Conference USA Championship. UCF against Navy for the AAC. Georgia LSU. Boise State against Hawaii there. And that's actually the game of the week. The Mountain West Championship. You would think the Big Ten Championship, a top 5 matchup with the Natty on the line, but they're saying Boise State Hawaii is the better game. USC against Stanford. Florida State Georgia Tech for the ACC. And the Yellow Jackets probably need to win to make the Natty. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. So Georgia Tech loses, and then Ohio State or Wisconsin win. Does the winner of this game, then Penn State there at number 3, get in? Or that's going to be a weird situation if Georgia Tech loses. And Florida State, Georgia Tech, like we said, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and then Western Michigan at 10-2 Ohio in the MAC championship. So we're now going to sim through conference championship week, and I believe the Heisman Trophy winner will pop up. And more than likely, it will be Kevin Lumpkin out of Georgia Tech. Maybe unless they were to fall there in the ACC Championship. Either way, though, he probably did more than enough to secure the Heisman Trophy. So it looks like we're going to be in the Fiesta Bowl or the Sugar Bowl, and I'll take it either way. I was kind of hoping for a rematch with Oklahoma. I think they would be an easier opponent than LSU, although, I mean, either way, it wouldn't be an easy game by any means. Still advancing here to bowl week. Our bowl bid should pop up along with the Heisman Trophy winner here in the coming seconds. And we do get a coaching point here for Lance Leipold. And there it is. Kevin Lumpkin won by almost 1,000 votes. 2,500 rushing yards, 34 touchdowns, 275 receiving with 3 more through the air. Mike Jackson, the LSU signal caller, who maybe we're going to see in our bowl game number 2. Brock Turner from Oklahoma jumps up there at number 3. And we saw him earlier, might see him again. And so we're actually in the Orange Bowl against Navy. We go from the Fiesta Bowl to the Sugar Bowl, and we're now in the Orange Bowl against Navy, who was number 2 before falling to Army. Well, it looks like they did win the AAC, and we're going to have a number 8 against number 9 matchup. And look at that. Bobby Price has won the Chuck Bednarik Award, the first time we've had an award winner in this series, and he also wins Linebacker of the Year. The redshirt senior, part of our year 1 recruiting class, the only player left from that year 1 recruiting class. And now we'll go ahead and preview our opponent. And they actually do have us beat for overall at B+, A- offense to our B+, and B defense to our B-. So just barely better than us, across the board. They're even for turnover differential. Looks like they have a very good rushing offense. Pretty sure they still run that triple option attack with Ken Niam Atalolo, number 3 in total defense, number 6 in pass defense, and 21 in rush defense. So their defense, one of the best in the nation, but with that running attack, they really keep the opposing offense off the field. Looking at their schedule, they started off red hot at 6-0 before falling to Notre Dame, and the Fighting Irish came in at the year at number 1, and they end under 500 and miss a bowl game. After that loss, they won 4 in a row. Lost to Army, but then won against UCF in the American Athletic Conference Championship. Clark, 1636 passing with 19 passing touchdowns. I mean, that's a pretty good total. Baldwin, just under 2,000 yards. He'll probably get that against us with 16 touchdowns. But with that, we'll go down the list now and look at some of these bowl games that are, set in stone now. It's not a projection anymore. West Virginia, USC in the Holiday Bowl. Michigan, Oklahoma State, Meineke Car Care Bowl. The Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl, for the first time in 3 years, will not feature Marquette. It's going to be BYU against Arizona. Chick-fil-A Bowl is actually going to be Vanderbilt against Miami. I would assume the Hurricanes run away with that one. Minnesota, Mississippi State in the Gator Bowl. Georgia, Ohio State. So Ohio State lost the Big Ten Championship, and they fall all the way out of a natty spot here to the Capital One Bowl. So you would think Wisconsin makes the national championship, but let's see if Georgia Tech won. Penn State against Stanford in the Rose Bowl. Fiesta Bowl is going to be Oklahoma, Alabama, so Oklahoma stays in that spot. The Sugar Bowl, LSU and Boise State. The Tigers stay in that spot, number 4. And the Orange Bowl here, Marquette and Navy. And we finally, secure a bowl bid in a prominent bowl game. Certainly cementing our upward ascend here. Auburn, TCU in the Cotton Bowl. And the national championship will be Wisconsin and Georgia Tech. As Georgia Tech did win the ACC Championship, but even then, a 3-loss Wisconsin team makes the natty. And wouldn't that be something if the Badgers win it? And then we could say we beat the national champion. Each of them at B+ for overall and defense, but Georgia Tech a slight edge there offensively as they bring that triple option attack and the Heisman Trophy winner. Each team tremendous turnover differential. Wisconsin at +16, Georgia Tech at +12. And Kirk Herbstreit is going with the Yellow Jackets. And we do have that coaching point to spend here with Matt Campbell. And we're 10-10 for game management recruiting, so now we can go back over into recruiting. And as much as I want to go to kitchen sink and give us, more individual points for recruits each week, I think at this point we have to go with a letter of intent and boost our off-season recruiting. As we're going to have 3 or 4 primary targets that we're going to have to distribute points to, and we definitely need more resources to do so. Matt Campbell, our second-year defensive coordinator, up to a level 17, and Bobby Goss, our 6th-year OC, up to a level 11. Both these guys could be up for head coaching gigs this offseason. And now we'll go ahead and preview our opponent for the Orange Bowl as we close this episode. So the head coach, Ken Niumatalolo, his 12th year at Navy, 90-52, only 2-8 though against the top 25, only 2-6 in bowl games. So hopefully we can expose that. The offensive coordinator is Les Miles, so they have Les Miles in on this triple option attack. The DC Buddy Green. And when I look at Niumatalolo's profile, so offensively they run the option, they're going to run it a ton, and they're going to stay conservative. Defensively they run a 3-4, and going to defend the run a smidge more than they defend the pass. Now looking at his coaching tree, he certainly spends more in recruiting, so he doesn't really have any big game management boost. Defensively, Buddy Green only a level 12 defensive coordinator. Block shed and power move there and finesse move, all maxed out, so they're going to get very good trench play up front. And Les Miles, a maxed out offensive coordinator, so we're really going to have our hands full with that attack. Now looking at their roster, a few players here at 90 overall or above. 3 on offense, 2 on defense. We'll go position by position here. Joe Clark leading this triple option attack. And he's throwing the ball very well for a triple option quarterback. 19 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions, an exact ratio of what he had last year. Going back to his freshman year, 18-6. So his third year as the starter, a lot of experience under center. 56 touchdowns to just 16 interceptions. Rushing the ball over 900 rushing yards each of the past 2 seasons, with 14 rushing touchdowns this year. An 89 overall redshirt junior. Very good mobility at the position as you would expect, with 85 throw power adequate there, and 90 throw accuracy, so he can hit his spots. 84 elusiveness, 73 carrying, so maybe we could force a fumble on him at some point. Leading the way at running back is Chase Baldwin, 90 overall with 98 speed, 96 acceleration, so you get him in the open field, he's probably gone. 95 elusive with 90 vision, 89 break tackle, 92 spin, 91 juke, 88 stiff arm. This dude is an absolute stud. 81 short of 2,000 on the year. Definitely going to be gunning for that. 6.6 yards per clip with 16 rushing touchdowns. We're going to see these other backs here. Sean King, more of a power back, 6 yards per carry. 90 speed, not the best acceleration or agility, but manageable. And decent ball carrier traits with a good stiff arm. Marcus McCoy, a true sophomore. 701 yards, so he's gotten more reps here than King. 5 yards per clip with 6 rushing touchdowns. 89 speed, 90 acceleration, 86 agility, a good athlete with 83 trucking. And then juke, spin, and stiff arm there in the low to mid 80s with 75 route running. So maybe he'll make an impact as a receiver at some point. McKenzie, 115 carries last year, only 1 this year. At fullback is Will Logan, a true freshman, a true sophomore. Looks like he doesn't really get any carries. At receiver, Nathan Roberts, very good. A 93 overall true sophomore at 6'3", 239. He's never eclipsed 400 receiving yards, but to no fault of his own. I wonder if he has blocking. At that size, maybe you would think he could maybe go to tight end. Only 66 run block with 77 impact, so probably someone who maybe could have played tight end. Maybe would have been more beneficial in this scheme. Nathan Chambers, 82 overall. Dan O'Neal looks like he's injured, so a little thin at receiver, but I'll be surprised they throw the ball more than 10 times or so. Alfred at tight end. Decent production in the passing game. You like the size at 6'6", 262, 79 overall. And really just solid all around with no clear weakness. On the offensive line, Travis Bailey, 88 overall left tackle. Very good pass blocker at 94. 84 run block, 87 impact, 84 strength. 93 overall here at center, Mark White. Very good run blocker at 92 with 89 strength and impact. A fifth-year senior. Clint Williams from Brick Township, New Jersey. Repping the hometown there. I like to see that. Only very poor athlete. You would expect a little better athleticism from the interior guys in this scheme, but 45 agility, that's got to be the lowest I've ever seen in this game. 95 run block, though, a mauler with 86 impact. Not sure how he'll manage on pulls, though, with that lack of speed and agility. 84 overall here at right tackle, Andrew Blanks. Good athlete, 92 acceleration, 91 pass block. Only 75 impact, though. So at left guard here, they have a 70 overall, and he is a starter. 21 pancakes to 2 sacks given up. So left guard is a weakness there, a true freshman. Jason Smith, though, we have a Jason Smith at quarterback. They have one at left tackle. We're going to have to look at the depth chart and see how it holds up. On the defense, Nick James at left end, just 76 overall, but he had 14 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, very good production. 91 acceleration, 79 finesse, and block shed, 85 hit power. Trey Moses at right end, 78 overall, fifth-year senior, 87 finesse, 79 block shed. Another guy with 5.5 sacks and 17 tackles for loss at D tackle, Patrick Jacobs, a true senior, 7 career sacks with 22 career tackles for loss and 12 pass deflections. And that's somewhere with Jason Smith, the lack of height he has. A lot of times the D tackles can bat those passes down. If he's close to the line, Jacobs is going to be looking for those. Left outside linebacker Brandon Wilson at 82 overall, decent athlete, like the 88 acceleration, 89 block shed, 85 play rec, good pursuit, good hit power, but not the best in coverage. Very good player here at middle linebacker Dominic Gibbs, very good speed and acceleration, good play rec, great pursuit at 94, 89 block shed, 82 zone and man, 93 hit power, and can rush the passer a little bit. Does everything. 2 career interceptions with 11.5 sacks, 10 pass deflections, 3 forced fumbles over his career with a ton of tackles. Going to corner now, Eric Hoffman, 93 overall. So they have some stars, in every phase of the defense. Look at that, 3 interceptions, 16 pass deflections. That might be the most I've ever seen from a player so far in this series. A little bit weaker, though, as you go down, but still solid players here. 79 overall, Tariq Williams. 78 overall, Lorenzo Moore. 77, Vince Brown. 76, Lee Walker. So pretty deep, but they do have one star at the top at safety here. Joey Hicks, Jesse Ferwerda. Hicks, though, 2.5 sacks with 7 pass deflections. Ferwerda more of a backup role. And then Xavier Thompson, that strong safety, 87 overall. 5 pass deflections, 2 picks, a sack. Good production at kicker. TJ Ryan, 8 out of 10, along with 54 this year. So he can hit from deep. Antoine Lee at punter, 81 overall. Only 28.7 net, though. And I'll just kind of scroll down the depth chart as we close this episode. And this is where I'm going to leave you, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Just, a quick end of season kind of wrap up episode. Some, storylines there at the end. The national championship ends up being Wisconsin and Georgia Tech after the Badgers defeat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. We end up in the Orange Bowl after it looked like we were originally going to be in the Fiesta Bowl, then the Sugar Bowl, but we end up here in the Orange Bowl, and we finish number 8 in the nation going into bowl week. As always, everybody, it's been real, and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.